welcome to the April 19th meeting of the Lake Forest City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Honorable James Kiely.
Here.
Alderman Brumhouse.
Here.
Alderman Novit.
Here.
Alderman Zigman is absent. Alderman Goldschrock.
Here.
Alderman Morsch.
Here.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Here.
Alderman Luby.
Here.
Alderman Palmer.
Here.
8 present and absent. Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you please join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a quick order of business this evening. We have one of our aldermen, Stu Widman, who is going to try to join us telephonically, and we need a motion to accept that.
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And we will try this and hope that it works.
It's like that quiz show where you dial a friend.
We could have voted no, right?
Hi, Stu. Can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, thanks.
Good.
Wow, you sound like you're right here.
Welcome, Stu.
Our first item on the agenda this evening is reports of city officers. The first one being the comments by the mayor. I do have a few brief comments I'd like to make this evening. First comments I have relate to the Forest Park Master Plan, and I'd like to read a quick statement. Over the past year, the Lake Forest Garden Club, in collaboration with the city, began the development of a conceptual master plan for Forest Park, a unique and historically significant public property. We are extremely fortunate to have a community organization whose vision is aligned with that of the city's, and we are very appreciative of the Garden Club's desire to give the city a gift of a master plan for Forest Park. The goals of the Lake Forest Garden Club to enhance, to restore, and to protect this park are also embraced by the City Council, and we are extremely indebted to them for their generosity of both time and funds to help make this landscape design plan possible. Consideration of this gift was originally scheduled for discussion at this evening's City Council meeting. Because this is such a significant project for the City of Lake Forest, the City Council must thoroughly review all of the information from the Parks and Recreation Board, the Lake Forest Garden Club, and our residents. Therefore, consideration of the gift will be deferred until the May 17 City Council meeting. At that time, the council will hear a complete presentation from the Lake Forest Garden Club, provide time for council members to ask questions, and allow an opportunity for additional public comment. Because there will be no action taken tonight, public comment on this matter will not be heard this evening.
Yes.
Stu, what's up?
If you would like to share additional information with the City Council, we request that you submit your comments in writing to City Hall. All comments will be compiled and distributed to the entire City Council for review prior to May 17. We appreciate the time that everyone has taken to come this evening, as well as your continued interest in this important project. I do have two other quick comments I'd like to make this evening, and one is to thank Alderman Ren Golcha, because I'm not going to be here for next meeting, which is the official changing of the guard, and I want to certainly do that in person for certainly all your hard work, your efforts, your dedication to the City of Lake Forest. I know that this is a very time-consuming. It's a job that we do as volunteers. We don't get paid, and you've given your utmost time and commitment to the city, and I want to thank you on behalf of the city for all your hard work and dedication.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very welcome. Next quick item I'd like to make is we heard at the Finance Committee earlier that the City of Lake Forest has once again maintained from Moody our AAA bond rating, and given the financial condition of, let's say, the country at this time, the City of Lake Forest continues to maintain a AAA bond rating. That is extreme, wonderful thing to continue to do, something that we as a council have said we would do. We continue to do that, but it certainly came with a lot of hard work. I want to thank our Finance Director, Kathy Reinerson, She has worked extremely hard to make sure that we maintain that rating, and certainly our finance director on the city council here, Alderman David Grumhouse. Both of them have worked hand in hand, certainly with the rest of city staff and with city council, but we continue to maintain that rating. I know there are very few communities that are able to do that anymore, and once again, we have done that, and again, I thank you for all your hard work and your efforts. The next comments we have this evening relate to resolutions of appreciation for board commission members. And I'd like to first take a moment to thank a number of the individuals who, again, like our aldermen here, have served as volunteers, who served with no pay and with just a commitment and a dedication to the community. And I'd like to read off the individuals who are coming off of these boards right now, and we thank you again for your time and consideration. Kirk Johnson from the Audit Committee, Don Schoenheiter from the Building Review Board, Donald Cook, the Historic Preservation Commission, Robert Thurnbrough from the Library Board, Robert Frankson from the Plan Commission, William Avery from the Plan Commission, David Dever from the Park and Rec Board, Ralph Gazaldo from the Park and Rec Board, and Mary Herlocker from the Senior Resource Commission. And I would entertain a motion for approval of resolutions of appreciation for these
Can I
individuals.
just make one comment, Mr. Ed? I just wanted to thank personally Ralph. I know these people are all very good, but Ralph stayed an extra year and did a tremendous job in the Parks and Rec Board. As a former chairman, he surpassed myself by way past anyone, and has done a tremendous job for our community, and we got to keep Ralph involved in our city somehow, some way. Thank you, Ralph.
And I would add that it was a very busy year between the ad hoc committee and the Forest Park plan. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He definitely earned his stripes again this year.
Absolutely.
I'd like to make the motion for accepting that. Also, the other people, many of them on here, have been chairmen of their committees and worked equally hard, each in their own way, for what they've done. And we have a tremendous amount of talent that's stepping aside after a very good year. So thank you all.
Very true.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And thank you for the additional comments as well. Our next item on the agenda is 2010 to 2011 new board and commission appointments. And I would like to take a quick moment to read these. Again, many of these folks are both being reappointed for their work, and we have new appointments as well. And again, I'd like to thank those individuals who are giving their time and efforts for the city of Lake Forest. The first one is the Audit Committee, and I'll read the names. Michelle Moreno is a new appointment. Alan Jacobs, a reappointment. Kirk Sweet, reappointment. A. Andrew Orwetti is a reappointment, and Vicki Reich is a reappointment. For the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, we have one individual as Kristen Bishop, that's a reappointment. The Building Review Board, two individuals, Jonathan Clare is a new appointment, and Monica Ruggles is a reappointment. The Senate Cemetery Commission is Ronald Sevchek is a reappointment, and Brew Beidler is a reappointment. Construction Codes Commission, we have Michael Bleck is a reappointment, Peter Whitmer, reappointment, Lawrence Marshall, reappointment, and Martin Fiore is a reappointment. The Historic Preservation Commission, William Ransom is an appointment, Mary Ellen Swenson, appointment, Kurt Parrott's reappointment, and Guy Russell Berg is a reappointment. The Library Board, Carol Champ is a new appointment, and Roger Hull as a reappointment. The Legal Committee, Carla Wyckoff, reappointment, and will be the new chairman. Peter Hamilton is a reappointment, and Andrew Perellis is a reappointment. For the Park and Rec Board, we have Annette Becker, who will be a new appointment, and Robin Ford, who will be a reappointment, but she'll be the new chairman. The Plan Commission, Elizabeth Miller is an appointment. Jack Reisenberg will be the new chairman. Mike Edelman, a reappointment. Tim Newman, a reappointment. And Mark Shaw is a reappointment. The Senior Resource Commission, Roger Moore is a reappointment and a chairman. Carol Herber, a reappointment. And James Buzzard, reappointment. And I'd also like to Please keep Roger Moore in our prayers. I understand that he is going through some medical procedure, I believe today. So please keep him in your prayers and hope all is well with Roger as well. But again, I'd like to thank all of the individuals for giving their time and efforts for the city of Lake Forest, and all those newcomers who are coming on board. Thank you for letting us twist your arm to put your time and efforts in. And I'll entertain a recommendation to approve the new appointments and reappointments.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Those conclude my comments for this evening. The next item on the agenda is comments by city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As you know, periodically we reach out to Lake Forest College and select one of their best and brightest to come work for us in an internship capacity. And this
Bob?
evening, yes?
Bob,
Yes?
it's Stu. I can barely hear anything. I think I caught about 15 words out of all the board and commission members' appointments and reappointments and thank yous. So it's mostly very scratchy from my end here.
I don't know what the options are. Maybe if you... Here, we'll pull them over here.
Each other.
Internet.
Hold on there, Stu. You know what, I may have to put them right here.
I don't know if that's gonna be any better.
Yeah.
Stu, the good news is we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm getting mostly, just static.
Well, I'll try and speak up so you can hear me, okay, Stu?
Okay, that's a little better.
As I indicated, we have an intern working with us, and one of the projects that she was working on the past few months is taking a look at some of the parcels that the council has previously identified for disposal, or some that are on our plate right now that are going to require some major improvements down the road, and what are the options that are available to us and what direction the city council wants to take. This evening, we're not asking for any action per se, really looking more for direction from the city council as to how we want to proceed with these parcels. And so at that, I will turn it over to Kendall and let Kendall take it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm Kendall. Thank you, Bob, for the introduction. Like you said, we are going to be looking at just a couple different properties that the city has owned. I'll start with the city map just to give you an idea of where we're talking here. These are the Wedgewood properties down in the southwest corner of the city. And here we're going to be talking about two buildings located on the Grove campus, which are both Bennett Hall as well as Volwiler Hall. So Wedgewood parcels, we begin. The city obtained these plots of land back in 1998 as a donation, and the only stipulation of this deed was that the city required them in open area zoning. And that was a requirement that lasted 10 years, and it's been 12. And so those are able to be rezoned. Back in 1995, there were resolutions written. Are we good? Can you hear me? Am I on? Okay. Back in 1995, resolutions were written that declared these Wedgewood parcels surplus. So that as a city, we've already decided that these are surplus, and we're just bringing them to the council's attention again to see what the next steps would be with this. That's 22, 23, 24, respectively. A street view of these properties. As you can tell, it's just sort of at the end of the subdivision, so that's very heavily wooded. Here's a couple questions that we bring to the council's attention, discussing these lots. If they should indeed be rezoned to residential, if there is anticipation of the city selling these. Although, as this slide shows, there has been a little opposition from the homeowners association of the Wedgewood subdivision that they are against zoning it away from open space. I think it is appreciated as a sort of wooded barrier between the tollway and the trucking company, which is located behind them. Also, we could, should a park or other community asset be placed on the site? That's also another option, because if the city decides to keep these lots zoned as open area, there are a limited number of tenants, which would be the Lake Forest Open Lands, the Lake County Forest Preserve, or the Homeowners Association, if they are interested in purchasing these properties. We can move on then to our Bennett and Volwiler buildings located on Grove campus. Here's an aerial shot. This building here, this longer one, is Volwiler, and right across from that is Bennett Hall. We'll start talking about Bennett. Bennett was built in 1949 and is currently it's a contributing structure to the historic district of the Grove campus, and in that sense needs to be respected as far as construction and remodeling goes. There are certain codes that need to be followed. It is currently occupied by the Lake Forest Symphony, and their lease is terminated in December of 2010, so just this year. There are a lot of capital improvements that need to be done to this building. These pictures sort of give you an idea. This is a bathroom that had lots of water damage, and as you can tell up here, there's water damage coming down from the ceiling directly below that. This estimated cost is about $950,000, which is steep, I guess.
Especially when you're a college student.
This next building is Volwiler Hall, which is not nearly as old and is in much better condition, built in 1980. Currently being used by the Music Institute of Chicago, who are subleasing the basement to the Career Resource Center. There's only about $95,000 worth of capital improvements that need to go into this building, but their lease is also to be finished up in December of this year, 2010. There are a couple questions. We looked for guidance from the council concerning these buildings. Currently, both buildings are operated under a special use permit, which is fairly limited, and there are questions concerning whether we want to continue leasing these buildings to tenants who would obey under that special use permit, or if the special use permit could be adjusted. There's options, of course, of selling the buildings on a land lease, and these are all questions we can ask, and we look to you to help answer.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I might also add that there may be some interested parties in the audience here with respect to one or more of these parcels as well. So following your conversation, you may want to open it up to see if anybody else here has any input.
Yeah, I would just start out with the comments on the Wedgewood lots. As Alderman Luby knows, these are in the 4th Ward. I know when I was alderman at the time, I believe it was Alderman Reynolds who was the head of the committee to look at vacant parcels and see what we might wish to do with those parcels. At the time, we went back and found out that we in fact could not put them up for sale yet because either was a time limit or there was one parcel left, if I recall.
Yeah, not enough lots were sold.
Not enough lots were sold to complete that. And I do remember at the time, this is going back a few years, but there were certainly a number of residents who expressed an interest that if those lots were to come up, whether one, they may wish to personally try to put a bid on them, or two, that the homeowners may get together and try to keep that as open space. So just trying to understand the process of how we may present that back to the public in order to get input. That's the question I have.
And I think that's sort of the direction we're looking for this evening, and the recommendation maybe from the staff is that we still believe it's appropriate to sell the parcels. You might recall that back in, I can't remember what it was, 2008, when we did do appraisals. We would have to get the appraisals updated at this point in time, but we would think that the first step would be to formally send a letter to the Homeowners Association saying the council is seriously considering the disposal of these parcels. They have asked us to reach out to you if you have any interest in purchasing the parcels and at least having that dialogue first. Whether we sell it to the homeowners association or we sell it on the open market, there will still be certain procedures that the council will have to follow with the disposal of any public asset, but we can address that at the time depending on what our options are.
What are the size of those lots again? I know it's in here somewhere.
I just can't hear anything. I can't tell who's talking, and it sounds like I'm trying to listen to a conversation that's 4 rooms down the hallway. This is really working.
Yeah, we'll have to try and come up with a better alternative.
It's-
He's the first.
He's the first time we've ever tried to do it, so it's,
Yeah. Stu, do you want to leave us?
Yeah, it's almost futile for me to just sit here with Beck. I even try to put a phone on each ear to see if I could enhance anything, but it's just not working. I can't
Each like about 42,000.
really get anything because I can't really hear what's going on.
Okay.
So it's disappointing, but I'm not sure what the problem is. But it's kind of not working the way we planned. So I think I might just as well hang up and maybe we'll try it again some other time when I'm out of town. So thanks for allowing me to try this. We'll figure out.
We're on streaming video, Stu.
It doesn't stream?
He's gone.
So these look like about 1 acre properties. When we did the appraisals, do you remember what the values were? I know it was 2008, which was,
They were in the it's in the packet somewhere, I thought. I saw 600.
600s, yeah, that
In the
was
600s.
for
I
each.
saw it somewhere in the
for
packet.
each, that's what they were running in that
Yeah.
neighborhood.
It
Yeah.
sounds like a 2008 appraisal to me.
Well, that's what it was.
These numbers actually that are in the packet are from 2004, so that would definitely need a reappraisal to get a more accurate value, yeah.
That's it.
That's probably
That's
what
not
it's,
it's
probably
reasonable
close.
estimate.
Well, I mean,
It's in
you know,
here
it sounds,
somewhere.
I would certainly propose that we send this back and ask the homeowners association if they are interested, because we've heard from them over the years, showing interest in it, to
but
preserve
I
it as
think,
open space.
I think it's tough to ask them whether there's interest when they don't know whether the price is 100,000 or 1,800,000.
Well, I mean, if there's interest, we'll go in that direction of we have to find out what the value is anyway if we're gonna sell them.
Right, so I guess what I'm wondering is maybe we should just go find out what the value is first.
Well, that's,
Well, maybe a middle position would be to get a value from a realtor's estimate and say that this is
well,
approximately
that's what I mean,
ballpark,
approximately.
And then see if in the neighborhood they had any interest, and if so, then go to a formal
Correct.
appraisal, because the appraisal is gonna cost a significant amount of money, and the realtor might be able to give.
Well,
Ballpark.
Not for just
Exactly.
residential.
I don't think the appraisal for residential.
No, it wouldn't
property would
cost
be
very much
horribly
at all.
expensive. We're not talking about an environmental.
They're $400 or $500.
examination. We're talking
and they're all right next to each other, so basically.
So they're all
one-
gonna be close to the same, yeah.
Pretty much the same.
Well, let me ask you a very key question though of the city council, because we could convey to them that the city council has reiterated its interest in disposing of the parcels, that the appraisals back in 2004 were X, that we've been directed by the staff to get updated appraisals. If they have an interest, then please let us know. But the key question is going to be, are you going to be assuming that you would only sell them to them at whatever the appraised price is, or would there be any reduced price on the appraisal? Because I'm sure that'll be the first question they'll ask.
Do we have to have it in an open bid though?
Here you go.
We can establish certain parameters that would have an impact on it. I mean, if we decide that we only want to sell them for purposes of open space, that's going to have an impact on value. If we want to just treat them as any other R4 lot, and we would need to we'd need to complete the rezoning for that, then that would be the basis on which the value would be. There's two different statutory methods. We're not bound by either of them because we're home rule, but they are useful processes to look at, one of which is just open bid, and there's a publication in a multiple, or a number of weeks within which the bids could be done. The other one is a more truncated approach, but that is based on at least 80% of an appraised value.
In open lands, we put a restriction on the deed that it would stay that way.
Correct.
By
And-
homeowners association or whoever.
And that would obviously have an impact on value.
On the
We've done that
value.
on remnant parcels, particularly, for example, by Estate Lane, I think we had 3 or 4 parcels of that type.
I mean, it's tough for the city to look at properties that may be worth $1 million in this environment and sort of say, we're just gonna we're just gonna turn them back, or we're gonna, sell them for a low price. I just, so I think it's something we have to follow up on. Now, having said that, if we're gonna sell these properties, I'm not sure as we know from our other real estate, this isn't exactly a good time to be going out and trying to, sell parcels. So, from that perspective, even if we believe that this is an optimal, thing to do to sell them, I wouldn't do it now.
Right, they're not costing us anything sitting there.
Because I think you'll get, this market will come back sometime, 2 years, 6 years, 12 years, sometime like that. And, at that point, is probably going to be better.
And the other thing to keep in mind, there is a process here, because when the city council took ownership of these, one of the requirements was that we would rezone them away. So we are going to have to file a petition and have them rezoned if it is our intent to have them sold for potential residential development. So we could do that and then just sit on them for a period of time with the zoning in place.
But if we did that, then would we lose the option if the neighbors did want to buy it to keep it open space, or could we
No,
go?
we could still have a covenant on the land, which would have the same impact as ours.
Well, it may be worth starting that process. I know that we haven't, at least in the past year, I don't think the zoning board's been that busy, so it might be a good time to do it,
Yeah,
to start that process.
I think that's a good idea. I think we ought to, I'd be concerned too, that if we discounted something or gave it at a special price, because I think we have a lot of property around town adjacent to people's homes and property that they might want to do the same thing.
That would go to the plan commission, wouldn't it?
For the rezoning, yes.
To the rezoning, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I would still, though, I think, argue that the quality of life in Lake Forest is enhanced by a feeling of open space. And so to the degree that the properties that we have, and especially the ones that have already been designated as OA, that we not be completely driven by the financial side of it, because at the end of the day, we really enjoy the community because of the look and feel of the community. So I would only offer that we should to give that maybe extra weight to the areas that seems to be germane.
Well, I think first choice would be to have the homeowners association decide that they would like to get it and purchase it on that basis. I mean, that would be
Absolutely, no doubt.
that would be our goal up front,
Yep.
right? Probably their neighbors as well. you know.
Well, and it does sound like and I haven't been out to look at the properties, but from a blocking or protection point of view, that we may want to, if there is development on this, make sure we require to, keep the backs of the properties and somehow, wooded and protected.
I don't know if there's anybody in the audience here from the Wedgewood Homeowners Association. I think we reached out to them, but doesn't look like anybody came, so. Okay, we'll make contact with them and see.
You get an A.
Wait, she's not done yet.
One more. Sorry. Can I ask a question on the next one?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yeah,
You're supposed to be nice now.
I'd appreciate that, I guess.
And Kathy may have to help her on this, but didn't we look at one of these halls as potential senior housing?
Yes, Volwiler.
Yeah. We don't have that as one of the options yet.
That's correct. Yeah.
Just an observation before
Well,
council.
good catch.
talks
Good
about.
catch,
Yeah.
indeed.
You're right.
And another question, if I might, with the extensive work on Bennett, have we evaluated whether that is lead paint and, just what sort of impacts we have once we start to tear into that? Because buildings that start to cost that amount can rapidly accelerate in cost. So I'd just say that, maybe we should have at least maybe a phase one or someone look at it from a paint and other environmental issue.
The one thought would be, obviously, all buildings created before 1978 would contain lead-based paint. It's not an unusual condition. I think actually one of the FDA guidelines is that, or one of the guidelines for containing it is painting over it, not sanding or airborning it. So the vast majority of the housing stock in East Lake Forest probably has lead-based paint. I don't think it should be a serious concern, but from an environmental standpoint, if it was constructed before 78, it's got lead-based paint. I don't think that's something that would have to be explored. I think it would be a conclusion at this point.
I think it would too. I was just trying to sort of highlight it so that we would see that in the cost, because encapsulation painting carries a bit of a premium.
What have we heard from the Symphony and the Music Institute about their interest in continuing in the building and
Well, I
signing
know
the
we have a
leases?
representative of the Music Institute here who may want to speak on their behalf. I don't know if there's a representative of the symphony or not. No.
But I'm just the office manager, so I'm here to listen.
You don't want to make an offer here tonight. Sure. Why don't you go up to the podium?
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Mark George. I'm president of the Music Institute of Chicago. And I'll just say that the Music Institute is very pleased to be a resource to the city of Lake Forest, especially in a community that values the arts and especially, in our case, music. We've been here for a number of years now because we came in and took over for the Lake Forest Symphony in Volwiler Hall. It's been a very good thing for us. And as I expressed to Bob the other day, we would love to find a way to keep an association and arrangement for a long time in Lake Forest. So,
Thank you.
Any sense on the symphony?
I don't. We've reached out to them, but we haven't received any response back from them. Unfortunately, we're working through some issues because we had some damage over the winter months, and again, I think Bennett is much more problematic as a building than Volwiler, and so I think it really comes down to what's their long-term interest to be in that building, and then what's the cost associated with being in that building.
Is Volwiler in pretty much market shape that we wouldn't need to do? I mean, I'm sure there's some things here and there, but most of the maintenance, deferred maintenance and rehab needs to be done on Bennett. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, Volwiler is more structurally sound than Bennett, certainly. Bennett appears to not have had much done before we purchased the property, and we haven't done much with it. City Council may recall that when the Symphony first moved in there, we were looking at short-term leases because there were some discussions about a symphonic center in town, and I think they were looking at some point in time of potentially moving into a different facility, a more permanent facility. That obviously hasn't come to be, but and we've told them and we've explained to them that the city has some issues that we have to wrestle with, because this is, you can see from the write-up material, some pending significant costs that are out there, and the city clearly doesn't have the resources to put that kind of money into this building. I will also say that for both Bennett and Volwiler, we really have not factored into the rents of those two buildings any long-term capital replacement either. And so if that was to be the case, that we would have to factor that in as well. So it's going to be more difficult, and to be very candid, I think one of the challenges the council may have is that it is historically significant structure, and the special use permit really limits the users who can go to Grove campus. So you may not have many takers for that building, and so we might find ourselves in a position of either having to take some drastic action with respect to the building or open up the special use permit to a use that would be able to put the resources into that building that a not-for-profit would not be able to.
The structure's historic, or the campus is historic, or maybe they're one and the same?
I'll ask, like Kathy's nodding her head, so I'm assuming yes, they are both historic, the campus and the structure. Now, I don't believe Volwiler is historic, though, is it? It's not even contributing to this, I think.
The original buildings are historic, and Grove Campus is a local landmark, but you're correct, Volwiler is not historic.
Because it's not original.
Correct.
So we pretty much can have carte blanche on that one within the overall plan of the campus. Yes,
With
okay.
appropriate approvals,
Okay,
yes.
Yes, okay.
With appropriate approvals.
Very well said.
Aim for the night.
Well, it feels like to me on these that we should probably have some more in-depth conversations with both the Symphony and the Music Institute and try and get a sense of where they're at, and then, talk to the Housing Committee. I know that obviously that campus has been looked at, whether there's anything we want to do there, but clearly we're going to have to try and come up with some sort of longer-term solution, especially around Volwiler. I mean, it sounds like, on Bennett, it sounds like on Volwiler that, that's in pretty good shape, and Music Institute seems like they may want to stay there, and so maybe we can do something on that one, but the other one sounds more pressing.
Does anybody want to buy a building?
Not cheap.
Yeah, cheap.
Gultra Hall.
Culture Hall, there.
Can be his parting gift.
You guys are just too generous.
What did I give him, what did we give him a month or so ago? A park or something?
That's right. A
That was a
cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac.
Oh, a cul-de-sac.
He's got the Ready Mix named after him.
Yeah, right.
There's clearly time to get off this council, it's way too expensive.
Who said we didn't appreciate it?
Kendall, can I just ask you, is there any other direction that you need from the city council with respect to any of the parcels?
I definitely agree that I think the council should talk to both the Symphony and the Music Institute to see where they want to go with the two buildings, and I would follow that lead, I guess. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you.
One last question then.
Now
Have we
you
done
can
any,
give her a grade.
have we done any internal work looking at the building and cost estimates of, I don't want to hire anyone, but, have we looked at it from our, internally to think about what needs to be done and
We have, and
whether
that's
it's
where those
salvageable?
numbers came from, and I would say that they're back of the envelope numbers, because particularly in Bennett, as I said, our staff has spent a lot of time in there the last 2 or 3 months, and so they're much more familiar with the needs of that building than they are Volwiler.
Okay.
So, thank you, Kendall.
Thank you, Kendall. You passed. Wasn't that bad, was it?
And that completes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Bob. Our next item on the agenda this evening is comments by council members. Any comments? No? Hearing none, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is council committee reports. The first item being a finance committee report. The first item under that is a consideration of an ordinance authorizing the issuance of $18,425,000 in general obligation bonds, Series 2010A, 2010B, and 2010C of the City of Lake Forest, Illinois. This is final approval, presented by the Finance Committee Chairman, Alderman Grumhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we discussed in detail at the Finance Committee meeting this afternoon, or earlier this evening, we went ahead and had our bond sale today. Obviously, we'd been in preparation for that for a while. As you indicated, we'd received our AAA rating from Moody's, and we sold the bonds this afternoon. We went through in detail at the Finance Committee meeting how those turned out, but they turned out very well. We sold 3 tranches of bonds. The first, the $10 million tranche, basically a 2.34% interest rate. The second tranche of $3 million at a 3.18 interest rate, following after the discount, and then the last, $5.425 million of bonds at a 3.29 interest rate. Those are the effective after-tax interest rates. These were ahead of our plan. Obviously, things went very well. A real tribute to our finance director, Kathy Reinertsen. And with that, I'd like to get approval authorizing the issuance of the bonds so that we can go ahead and close the deal.
So moved.
Second.
I'd just like to make a quick comment that, just for the viewing public, those are maturities that go up to 20 years, so the interest rates at those amounts are extremely good and reflective of our credit rating and the management of our finances, so we should all be proud.
Very well done. Let's roll call vote, please.
Alderman Grumhouse.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Goldschrock.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Aye.
Alderman Luby.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
Thank you. The second item on the agenda was a consideration of an ordinance making a supplemental appropriation for the fiscal year beginning May 1, 2009 and ending April 30th, 2010. This is something we have to go through every year. We also discussed this at the Finance Committee meeting. This year, we had two supplemental appropriations. One, a $100,000 appropriation for the self-insurance fund medical and dental claim expense, and the second, a $436,000 appropriation for a liability insurance fund IRMA expense. If there are no questions, I'll also take a motion to approve
So
this
moved.
ordinance.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Grumhouse.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Goldschrock.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Aye.
Alderman Luby.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
Thanks. And last, we have the consideration of an ordinance approving a fee schedule for the city of Lake Forest. This is final approval. First reading was approved at the April 7th City Council meeting. This was also something we had discussed in detail at the March 15th Finance Committee budget meeting. No questions. I'm happy to take a motion for final approval.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Grumhouse.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Goldschrock.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Aye.
Alderman Luby.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
And that concludes the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Alderman Grumhouse. Our next item on the agenda this evening is the Public Works Committee report.
Public Works would like to remind everybody it's time for the streets to be paved again. Yeah, this year, on April 1st, bids were received and opened on the 2010 annual street resurfacing program. This year's resurfacing program involves rehabilitation of approximately 4 miles of streets. And following is a list of the streets included in the program. We have Field Drive, Field Court, and sections of Old Elm. The bids came in at $1,160,267.39 was Pete Baker at the low bid, and the high bid was $1,500,000.56. I don't know how they figured that with that 56 on the end.
Sometimes it's good luck in the numbers, what they add up to.
What they add-
Peter Baker's, one of them was divisible by 15.
Right.
So-
So Peter Baker came in with a wonderful low bid, which was below the engineer's estimate for the project. He's had a long time experience working in Lake Forest, and so we'll be looking to approve that. The funding for this year's annual resurfacing was originally funded through MFT funds, with the city winning the lottery, though, for the Lake County-sponsored Recovery Zone Economic Development. Bonds are being used to pay for this year. Also, though, with the above-average snowfall totals and pavements with no curb or storm sewers, we had additional roads that need resurfacing. Those are Wisconsin from Woodland to McKinley, Meadow Lane from Woodland to Elm Tree, Washington Road from College Road to Woodland, and Ringwood Road South on Ringwood Road to Sheridan Road. Only the portions of Washington Road between College Road and Woodland will be paved, since some of the sections of the street in this block are actually in good condition. We will be paving these, and I guess we're putting everything in the end here.
Yeah.
Then the next one that we'll be doing will be the Everett School driveway. That was brought to our attention that it's become very unsafe, the way the pavement's falling apart. So for $46,000, we're going to get that done. And again, that price came through from Peter Baker, and the staff recommends adding this to the contract for the annual surfacing program. So we're looking to award a contract for the 2010 street resurfacing project and resurfacing of additional streets to Peter Baker and Son for a not-to-exceed amount of $1,388,000 even. This portion of the project will be funded through the RESIB funds. Awarding contract for the Everett School pavement repair project to Peter and Baker in the amount of $46,000 to include authorization to expend, if necessary, an additional amount not to exceed 5% of the contract award for unseen change orders that may occur during the administration of this project. The portion of this project will be funded through the TIF funds. And
Can we motion those together, or do we need two separate?
You can motion them as a single.
I'll make a motion to approve both the contracts.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Grumhouse.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Goldschmidt.
Aye.
Alderman Morse.
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Aye.
Alderman Luther.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
And the next section of paving will be a recommendation from the Public Works to award a contract for Green Bay Road resurfacing. Again, the bids were opened on the 1st, received, and we'll be doing, the limits of Green Bay Road are from Wesley Road to northern limits of the city of Lake Forest. Peter Baker again had the low bid of $762,696.72, and again, it was below the engineer's estimate. Again, Peter Baker's doing all the other work, so he'll be right in town to do this one. The city had initially received federal stimulus funds to pay for the project, with 70% of the funds being federal grants and 30% coming from Lake Forest. For this project, though, under the request from State Senator Susan Garrett, city engineering staff had applied for the state grant under IDOT's Emergency Road Fund, and based on the engineer's estimates, the city was successful in receiving the state's ERP fund in the amount of $726,000, and the remaining $53,300 was to be via capital funds. In order to take an advantage of the low rates on the municipal bonds, the council approved combining the majority of the capital funds projects to be funded 2010 bond funds. The city's funding portion of the engineer's estimate was switched to the 2010 bond funds. The project is anticipated to begin in May, with completion date tentatively scheduled for the end of August, and the city will coordinate the project with Stage 2 of the Western Avenue improvements. The bid contract management and grant documentation was performed in-house by the engineering staff, with the city's engineering staff performing the inspectional services for both Western Avenue Improvement Project and the Green Bay Road resurfacing. The coordination between the two projects will be manageable with a minimal disruption to the residents and motorists, and we need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Grumhouse.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Goldschmidt.
Aye.
Alderman Morse.
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Aye.
Alderman Luther.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
And that's it from Public Works till we get to sidewalks later.
Mr. Mayor, could I just mention for the record that with both the Green Bay Road project as well as the city's annual resurfacing project, through the hard work of both the engineering staff and also the finance department staff, we were able to creatively fund these or seek other funding for these. And I think we saved over $200,000 that's going back into doing more roads. And so I think kudos go to the staff and being very creative and looking for the ways that we can stretch our dollars as far as we possibly can.
I thank you for that comment, Bob, and I would expand on it a little bit, that certainly it was a joint effort between both engineering, finance, and the council to realize that, take advantage of a situation where we're getting extremely competitive bidding and saving an awful lot of money, and then also going out and being smart to get federal money when it's extremely difficult to do so. So I think, again, it's been a win-win for everybody, and everyone worked hard to bring that to the residents of Lake Forest. So thank you for all your efforts.
Those, the bond proceeds, the bonds that we use, the recovery zone bonds they're a taxable bond, but they're a 45% rebate on them. So that's really, really lowers the cost of interest. So the 3-point-some% cost of interest for 20-year money here was really great, just to
Big savings.
underscore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kudos to everyone.
Thank you all again, Alderman Luby, for the Public Works report. Our next item on the agenda this evening is opportunity for public to address the City Council on non-agenda items. Does anybody from the public like to make a comment this evening? No? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the agenda this evening. I will read the 4 topics, and then should the council desire to go back to any of them or take them all together. The 4 items this evening are approval of the minutes from the April 7, 2010 regular meeting. The second item is award of a contract for the pavement management program. The third item is an enter into an intergovernmental agreement establishing the Skokie River Consortium. And the fourth item is a recommendation from the Public Works Committee to award a contract for Holland Court Improvements Project. That's the SSA number 38. Any questions or comments on any one of those 4?
We obviously talked at the Finance Committee meeting about both the pavement management program and the SSA. So with that, I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, is it a roll call vote? Roll call.
Alderman Grumhouse.
Aye.
Alderman Novick.
Aye.
Alderman Goldschrock.
Aye.
Alderman Morse.
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Aye.
Alderman Luby.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
Thank you, Beth. Our next item on the agenda is additional items for council discussion. Any other comments, questions? No? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.